All right, Andrew, on today's show, we are interviewing Kevin Jenkins of the Urban Global Health Organization. Andrew, are you a part of this organization?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of.
No.
That's nice. Well, on today's show, he's going to share with us about the Great Awakening and why Joe Biden's policies have only hurt black Americans. And he can say that because he is a black American. Then we interview Kazra, who is a credit card processing wizard, and he walks you through specifically how you can save money on your credit card processing. All this and more, and I attempt to spell Kazra's name correctly. Whoa! All this and more on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you.
Yes, 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 and yes, Thrive Nation, we are in the air everywhere. And on today's show, we are interviewing the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Jenkins. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
How are you, my friend?
I am honored to speak with you. I'm excited about what the future holds. I believe we are headed for the best year in a very long time because I believe people are beginning to wake up with an increasing intensity. Kevin, do you believe the American people are starting to wake up about what's really going on?
I actually do. I believe that the American people are waking up. I think they are starting to understand that for the last several months we've been lied to. The last several months they have politicized this virus. The last several months they understand that there's an attempted coup to take over this country and to split us up based on race, based on differences. And I'm suggesting to everyone to stand down and not buy it and to stand up against it. I believe we are actually going to win this battle. I was in an event yesterday, and I told a group of people that I really care about that have been fighting all of their lives to protect their children from these industries, big tech and big pharma. And I said, anytime an industry will spend $1 trillion worldwide to fight you, to sequester your voice, to censor you, that means we're winning. This is our David and Goliath moment. And I think that if we understand that, and if we strategically work together, and if we strategically push back on what mainstream media is selling us, and if we strategically understand this is about saving this country so we can all live in harmony. Now, we might come from different experiences. Your ancestors might came on a different boat than mine. But guess what? We're all patriots. My ancestors fought to keep and save this country like your ancestors did. And what we're seeing on mainstream media right now is very evil. What we're seeing that's happening in this country from the political establishment in this country is very evil. And guess what? They will dismantle our democracy just to get rid of a Donald Trump. That is just unacceptable to me. And I'm a black American. Okay, and I understand what that means. I think it's insidious what they're doing. I think it's horrible what they're doing. And you got to put it in context. You have to understand. I try to put things in context when I have this conversation. With all the things that are happening in this world right now, our children now are being destroyed. They're turning our public schools into indoctrination camps. Right now, the education cartel now is using this 0.13 mortality rate virus, one of the weakest viruses. Now, with 99.9% recovery rate, they are now using this to destroy our children. Now, yes, as of yesterday, we understand that the PCR tests are very sensitive. We just had a major coup by having Dr. Resnick. You should look him up. Dr. Resnick come in and explain the effectiveness of the PCR test. But now, even in the liberal press, the New York Times had to admit the other day that, guess what, those tests are not effective. They're too sensitive. They're not, you can have corona in your body for over 50 years, and guess what? Now what they're doing is say, oh, you're testing positive. It's all a lie. It was all manufactured to destroy our democracy.
Now, what I want to do here is, because you just covered a lot of ground, now I want to go back to the beginning real quick here. Who are you? Who are you, and what is this organization, the Urban Global Health?
Well, my name is Kevin Jenkins, and, I have about 25 years of community economic development experience. So if you want to talk about education, I've worked on making sure that kids around America in urban and places had adequate schools outside of the public schools that were failing them. I worked on creating charter school public policy. That's number one. Number two, when it came to talking about how do we effectively build housing for the middle class and poor people in this country, from the time I was 30, I helped to build thousands and thousands of units in my city and around the state and around the country. If you talk about economic development, how do you create jobs? By creating projects that create opportunity for people that live in urban centers in this country, white, black, Puerto Rican, or green. I was there. When you talk about how to build institutions that bring value to human life, that is one of the things that I never thought I wanted to do again. But when this crisis came, there was a young man named Jamel Holly, an assemblyman, that said, Kevin, we need to get off the sidelines. You got to get off the sidelines and help us to fight back, because the tyranny that's in front of us, the tyranny that was in front of us is overwhelming, and I need you to get involved. So talking to Bobby Kennedy, talking to a lot of the people around the country, watching some of the presentations, we came up with this institution because I realized that these parents in these communities were continuously fighting a big Goliath. And I said, if we don't have an institution that can look at this thing globally, look at this thing locally, look at this thing where you sit, we will never be able to get a seat at the table. And that is why we created the Urban Global Health Alliance.
Where are you
That's
based?
That's why we exist.
Where are you based?
Excuse me?
Where are you based?
We're all over the country. We're national. I was just speaking in front of the CDC, doing a Bridging the Gap reception, bringing the black community and the white community together to talk about what we're doing in this country. I just left Boston doing the same thing, bringing people together, speaking at their rallies, talking about the things that we do. So let me tell you the three pillars of the Urban Global Health Alliance.
Got it.
It's to educate, right, to advocate, and address public policy. Because what I've been finding out when I was starting on this journey, that majority of the elected officials that were pushing these mandatory bills, pushing all of this, they were Democrats. And I was stunned. I was like, wait a minute. That's something they would have accused the Republicans of doing. The Republicans are actually fighting back. The Democrats are actually in cahoots, and they're partnering with the global elite. They're partnering with, the big pharma and big tech. This is a Democrat that walk into black communities and always suggest, we got your back. No, they're stabbing them in the back.
What I want to do is I'm going to play some sound clips for you real quick, and I'd love to get your take on these things because just a little context, folks. I am very white. You talk about white. You talk about the absence of pigment. That's me. I mean, I get a sunburn just going outside ever. So I want to ask you my first tough question. How black are you, sir? How black are you?
I am black.
Okay, so I'm going to cue up this audio clip.
Listen, I'm grounded in my blackness. I'm grounded in my black history. I live in a black city, in a black community. I've been educated very, very well. I'll say that. And I've been given a global perspective from the day I was born.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to cue up an audio clip. This is an interview with a talk show host sitting down with Joe Biden. And let me just cue this audio, but I want to get your take on this little 30-second exchange. Here we go.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
What do you think about that?
Insulting.
Okay. So what's happening is Kanye West, he did an interview on PragerU. Very proud of that interview. I love that interview. Great job, Kanye West. And he's talking about how when you get up there and you start to say that you maybe have a different view than others, it's hard for people to grasp the idea. And I believe people like you, people like Kanye are saying, look, we have the right to vote for either party, whichever party is going to be the party of freedom, the party of liberty. What would you say to somebody listening to our show who is a darker complexion, somebody who's black, somebody who's Latino, somebody who's not white? Is there a movement of black conservative thought? Is it a movement? Is it a fringe group? Is there a momentum that's growing?
First of all, don't tag it as conservative or friends or whatever. Here's the deal. Here's what we should be talking about. Right. So I'm a black American male, right? I'm black, and I'm grounded in my history. I'm grounded in the black experience. I've helped to build my community from an economic development perspective, from a government perspective, from a human perspective. So let's take all of the other stuff off the table.
Got it.
So now here we are in the 21st century, and the black community has been so indoctrinated to vote for a party that does not have any compassion for them. Okay, so what Kanye is going through, because he can't contextualize it the right way, even though he's attempting to, and he's really saying something that's very honest, that you have a lot of people, black Americans in this country, that actually have been sold on the fact that the Democratic Party values them as human beings. So you have a Joe Biden who's been in office for 40 some odd years that have passed, you're talking about the worst public policies that have affected black Americans, in particular black men in this country.
Yep.
And you have black people actually considering voting for him in any way, which is absolutely insane. So I'm going to say something on your show.
Do it.
That might make you a little uncomfortable.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let me get myself psychologically prepared. 1 second. Let me just get myself, because if I'm ever going to get uncomfortable, I got to give me just 1 second here, Kevin. Let me just prepare. Here we go. Okay. I'm ready. Just let me have it. Let me have it. I'm ready now. Here we go.
You ready now?
Yep.
Okay. This is the question that I pose to all of my friends. Now, I'm going to give you a little quick shot about me so I can give you full disclosure.
Okay.
When Donald Trump, my wife is a Democrat, staunch Democrat, but she's a smart Democrat because she only invests in people that she believes is going to invest in the interests of her people. Right? I want to clear that up right there. Number two, when I was a Republican all of my life up until Donald Trump won, I was wrong about Donald Trump. Now, I might not agree with his style. I might not agree with all of those things because, that's every president gets to be evaluated that way. And, I was concerned because I didn't know if he was going to ever be able to sit down with my community and have a deeper conversation about the things that we believe we should get done. If it's job opportunities, expanding, dealing with the racial wealth gap, all of those things. I'm very seriously a part of that discussion.
Got it.
So I wanted to get clarity on that. So when he became president, I left the Republican Party.
Really?
Listen, I want you to listen to me now.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Yep.
I left the Republican Party. I thought that he was just not going to be able to do and handle the job or listen to our community in that way. Well, I was wrong. I tell my friends that I was absolutely wrong. I was having an emotional moment. I was wrong. Okay, now I'm going to snapshot over to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has been elected for 40 some odd years, and all of the public policy that he shepherded through has impacted my community in the most horrible way. So if you want to talk about Jim Crow 1800s, you want to talk about Jim Crow 20th century, he has been the main driver of all of the things that have impacted my community, have devastated my community, that has eviscerated my community, in particular the destruction of the black man in this country. Now, what happens is when you talk to Kanye and them, there's no context to that narrative. But I can give you context, I can give you history, I can give you policy. Now here's where you're going to get upset. This is where you're going to lose.
Oh, come on now. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Now, if I was a slave in the early 1800s.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
1619, 1800s. If I was a slave and my slave master, who destroyed my humanity, did all the most horrible things to me, my family, my group, let's say my group, and my slave master, I then become free. Now listen to this. I then become free now. I'm free. And I live in a county where my old ex-slave master is running for office. The question I ask everybody, would you vote for him? They tell me no. I said, well, how can you vote for Joe Biden, who's a segregationist? How could you vote for Joe Biden, who was the father of the mass incarceration bill that created Jim Crow 2.0? How can you vote for any of them? This party has never looked favorably upon black Americans. We are only the commodity to their wealth and their power. Now, this is where a lot of black people in your space can't articulate it correctly because they don't benchmark it in history. Now, that's not to disqualify what people have done. That's not to disqualify that slavery was horrible. That's not to disqualify any of that. And that's not to even disqualify that sometimes Trump does not know how to articulate those things.
Sure.
Even Kanye.
Yep.
Even Kanye. Right? So Kanye gets beat up because he can't articulate it historically. Now, some people will say, well, Kevin, that's a little. No, it's real simple. It's real simple. This man has come out for 43 years. He was against busing. He talked about us in the most horrible way, in the most despicable way, even up to this date. Now, that means that the black community is more, they believe they're more democratic than black American. Now, you have to understand why I say black American. Because black American means that my ancestors who came here in 1619, the slaves, fought for this transcendent democracy. We are part of the landscape of America, and guess what? We should be fighting every day to make things better for our community. Now, you know what Joe Biden talks about? He talks about everything else. He talks about everybody else except black Americans. We have to talk about this community. We have to talk about this community. We have to talk about this community. He never said, and then this whole plan that he has about black empowerment is the most insulting thing I've ever seen in my life or heard in my life. Now, Martin Luther King said the same thing. Malcolm X said the same thing. I can pull Frederick Douglass said the same thing. You mocked me. Now, a lot of black historians will try to distort what I'm saying, and I'm like, you can't, because the historical narrative is there. The language is there. The proof is there. For 50 years, black Americans have given 95% of their power to a party that has no compassion for them.
So you believe that Joe Biden's policies throughout his decades-long political career have only hurt black Americans. Am I getting that correct, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without question.
Now, I have a kind of a lighter question, and then I want to play an audio clip. I want to get your take on it. Then I want Josh Wilson to wrap up today's show by asking you a really tough question. So here's my lighter question. Now, this question, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to paint you into a corner, but here we go. What percentage of the time during Joe Biden's 4 decades long political career do you believe that he knew where he was?
I can't answer that, but now I can answer it up until this moment.
So I believe he knew where he was until, this is my take, I believe until 3 years ago, it sounded like he typically was pretty on it. You know what I mean? We all make mistakes, but I mean, it seemed like he could articulate where he was, what he was thinking. This is an audio clip from him today. And I just want to play this for the listeners because this happened today. And 19 hours ago, okay? So this would be yesterday, I guess, 19 hours ago. I'm going to play this audio for you and just see if you can tell me, Kevin, what he means by this. This is Joe Biden 19 hours ago. No editing has been done at all. Here we go.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it.
What does that mean, sir? I just don't know,
it's
Kevin.
It's the worst kind of word salad. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think it's the worst kind of word salad ever. I just don't think that he is aware of where he is at this present moment. I don't think that he is aware of the moment that we're in history.
Yeah.
And listen, the man just stood up there last week and said when he becomes president, he's going to mask us and vaccinate all of us.
He did. He's said that.
Mask us.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Listen, you have to understand now.
Yeah.
He's going to mask all of us. Forget the science. He's going to vaccinate all of us. Forget the science. And he's going to turn all of us. I don't care where you live. You live in Idaho, Texas, Newark, Boston. He is now going to turn over our bodies to big tech and big pharma. And we will now be the commodity to their wealth.
This is 100% true. Everything you just said, I have vetted and cited. And if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, you can see this. What you just said is crazy. It's true. It's uncomfortable. It's true. It's real. Josh, you own a company called Living Water Irrigation.
Yep.
What question would you have for Kevin Jenkins of Urban Global Health as we wrap up today's show?
So, Kevin, you brought up an awesome point that sometimes Trump and Kanye can't articulate the history of what you're referencing and what you're going to. So, people out there who are wanting to really get more into it and to understand better why people think because you're black you have to vote Democrat, or why you have to think this way, or those things, where can they go get some information? Where can they go get educated? Where can they understand the history?
Well, they need to understand. I'm going to tell you what I think they need to do. They need to back up a little bit.
Okay.
And, just take the Republican and Democrat out. But let's, for the sake of historical markers, black Americans started voting for the Democrats, the Dixiecrats, right, in 1963, when President Kennedy ran for office.
Yep.
And up until that point, Jackie Robinson and all of these prominent black Americans supported the Republican Party because the Republican Party was a supporter of Reconstruction. The Republican Party was in support of, that's why Grant went to protect the slaves in the South during the Reconstruction, and we can go on from Lincoln and whatever. What's happening is, in this country, a lot of people don't understand that history, and we don't do a good job articulating it. Black Americans only started voting for Democrats when Martin Luther King was incarcerated. Nixon had a fabulous relationship with the with the black community, and he hesitated in getting Martin Luther King. I'm going to try to give you a little, this is like the simplest thing. And when Martin Luther King was released from jail, Coretta Scott King said, we have to support John F. Kennedy. Remember, I like the Kennedys, but they were not about to give up their relationship with the Dixiecrats so they can win the presidency at the time. So that one thing that John F. Kennedy did triggered 50 years, right, of Jim Crow on steroids. Because the Democratic Party is only interested in us being a commodity to their wealth. They're only interested in the black community staying in perpetual poverty. And let me tell you the most horrific part about this. They have now garnered enough support by the black Democratic elite to fool their people and to continue to trap them into poverty. And I dare any elected official, I dare any pseudo-intellectual to suggest differently. Because anytime, then what they do to us, they paint us as conservatives, they paint us as this. No, we're historians. We know the facts. We know the truth. We know the data. Now, all of us understand that. So what we need to do right now in this country is to start to have this deeper conversation. That's why I wanted to be on this show. I'm glad you guys got me on this show. I'm glad you guys allowed me to lend my voice. But there's a battle right now going on in this country, and we need to pay attention to it. And it's way over, being Democrat or Republican or whatever. There's anarchy on the streets.
Yes.
There's a destructive force that's being, right now, as we speak, as we breathe, they're cloaking it in racism, like Black Lives Matter. My friends and family, we don't even understand what that is. I believe Black lives have value. I believe we need to have a bigger conversation about systemic racism, structural racism. We can do that. But when I saw them tear down Grant statue, when I saw them tear down Lincoln statue, when I saw them go into capitals and burn their buildings and destroy small businesses, that is un-American. Because black Americans, they want to have their own businesses. They want to have strong communities. They want to have strong church communities. They don't want to live in tyranny. They don't want to live under what we're seeing right now. And we are being blocked from having this discussion because mainstream media and the black political elite who have done their people a disservice, because what they're doing right now is selling garbage as hope. That's number one. And they are right now working for the global elite to suppress our value and suppress our voice. Period.
That's powerful.
Kevin, what percentage of the black vote do you think will go to President Donald J. Trump during this year's election in November?
They're going to be. Let me tell you what I think.
Yeah.
They're going to be pleasantly surprised. I don't know the percentage because I didn't spend a lot of time in that space. But let me just tell you what I believe. They're going to be pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of black Americans that are going to go in those polls where they're allowed to vote. New Jersey, they're doing vote by mail, which is absolutely disastrous. They took our ability to vote for 0.1, 0.3 virus, right? Mortality rate.
Yep.
And a 99.9% recovery rate. And now we understand that majority of the people that did die, unfortunately, we don't want anybody to die, right? Majority of those people died of comorbidity and pre-existing issues, and they were all tagged as COVID deaths because they were doing what? trying to cover up their lies.
You know that the CDC came out and said only 6% of those that died who died with these COVID-19 related deaths, only 6% died from COVID-19. They didn't die with COVID-19. Only 6% of that big number we say of all the COVID deaths, only 6% of them actually died as a result of COVID-19, which means that your chances of actually dying from COVID-19 dropped yesterday from 0.04%. Some people say 0.03. It's dropped now to 0.00024%. I mean, it just keeps dropping. I put a link on today's show notes so people can check it out. Yeah.
But you know what, though? When we were saying this earlier on, they said we were crazy. When we started saying, hey, this is what this is. This is the Rockefeller Foundation.
Right.
This is the global elite.
There it is.
This is the World Health Organization. This is Fauci. Now, here's the thing that I find interesting. When did Fauci become the American doctor? I don't know if you guys remember.
He's the American weasel, that guy. God,
yeah, well, let me tell you what I believe about Fauci.
Yeah.
And we could get on to Gates. We could do another show on Gates.
Yeah, we could.
But Fauci single-handedly murdered gay men and gay people in this country. And they talked about it. Now, look about what I'm saying. Now, the gay community talked about it for years. And now he becomes the American doctor. He's doing the same thing he did during that epidemic.
If people don't know that, what you're saying to be true, you can pick up a book called Plague of Corruption that will explain to you.
I got it. I have it on my desk right here.
There you go. So people, you can research it. And long story short, Dr. Fauci has been doing gain of function, taking naturally occurring coronaviruses and mixing them with human aborted fetal tissue forever. He's been doing the craziest nut job experiments for years. And then when these viruses, the HIV virus, started afflicting the gay community, he knew how to stop people from dying from it, but he withheld treatments that worked. And then finally, when Dr. Judy Mikovits and others got the research out there, it went from being a death sentence, a disease, HIV, to being a treatable disease. That's why Magic Johnson is still here with us. So what you're saying,
absolutely correct.
Although what you just said sounded crazy, it's not crazy. Check out the book, Plague of Corruption. Now, Kevin, real quick, where can people learn more about you? Because I have to hop on our next interview, and I want to make sure people have a chance to learn more about you, and we will have you on the show again. What's the best place for people to connect with you or the Urban Global Health Group?
Well, go to www.urbanglobalhealthalliance.com. That's where I want everybody to start there, www.urbanglobalhealthalliance.com.
Got it.
And you can see everything that I'm doing there. But, of course, I have my own private page, Kevin D. Jenkins. That's my Facebook page. And I'm sitting in a red chair. I'm sitting in a red chair so everybody can see me. But I've been all over the country. I've been to California several times, Colorado several times, going to Virginia, just been in Boston, just was in Chicago. I've been all over the country because I think it's important that we lend our voice, because right now, if we don't stick together, if we don't work together, if we don't start talking to each other, this tyranny will win. And I think coming on your show, and you offered me the opportunity to have this conversation with you, we stopped it. We stop it. And guess what? They spent $1 trillion and they're still losing, guys. Everybody that's listening, they spent $1 trillion to fool us, to destroy us, and we're winning.
Brother, I appreciate you so much for being on today's show, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Folks, that's Kevin Jenkins with the Urban Global Health Alliance.com. Again, boss, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, now we're going to be interviewing our next guest here. Now, our next guest, Andrew, this is going to be a guy by the name of Khosra. This guy has built a credit card processing company that processes over $1 billion of credit card fees every year. Josh, do you take credit cards over there at livingwaterirrigationok.com?
We do.
And how did you find your credit card processor?
It's actually linked through our CRM that we use.
Okay, but you use that service. That's a service you use.
Yep.
Everybody out there, if you don't take credit cards, you got to do it. Maybe you team up with Khosra, maybe you don't. But I'm telling you, credit card processing is very important, and this guy does it the right way.
Mr. Quay Clark, how are you doing, bro?
Khosra, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
I am great. And yourself, my man.
Brother, I'm excited about you, and I as I often do, I want to make sure I start off on a good foot here. How do we correctly spell your name? Because somebody's going to try to Google you during today's show. We just interviewed Kevin Jenkins. It couldn't be an easier name to Google, Kevin Jenkins. But your name, it's like, what's his first name? What's his last name? So how do we spell your first and last name? How do we do it, sir?
So it's sure, no problem. K like kitchen, H like hello, A like apple, Z like zebra, R like reed, A like apple. Kazra. It's definitely different.
Now, you have grown your company into the place where you now are processing nearly $1 billion of credit card fees every year. What's the name of your company? What's your website so people can look you up?
They can actually go to my site, Kazra.com, KHAAZRA.com, or they can go to eCom Payment Processing. eCom, like ECOM, Payment Processing. The name of the company is Electronic Commerce.
Now,
And,
I would like for you to educate us about all things credit cards today. Josh, does that sound fair? Does that sound fair?
Oh, I'm excited.
Vicalicious, you, sir, you have a
Vicalicious.
yeah, Vicalicious has a coffee shop. Vic, you take credit cards, right?
Yes, we do, and we actually use Shopify as well. So I
Okay.
don't know if his payment processor integrates with that.
And then Andrew, most of our clients take credit cards, right?
Yeah, if they don't, they should. They need to.
So, Kazra, I'm not going to tell our listeners they need to check out your website. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just present our listeners with a series of questions about how credit card processing works. And I'd like for you to educate us on this. Josh is going to hit you with questions. James, the attorney, is going to ask you tough questions. We're going to paint you into so many corners.
Oh.
You're going to be upset. When you get off the show, you're going to want to hang up. So here we go.
Probably never call back.
There are shady things that credit card processing companies can do. So I'm going to start with the assumption that all of our listeners process credit cards, and tell us what are some of the shady things that credit card processing companies can do to take advantage of you if you are not aware.
So one thing that is done by some of the biggest companies out there, and when I say the biggest, I really mean that, is so whenever you sign a contract, a merchant application, in most cases, like 99.99%, you don't read the terms and conditions because it's like 34 pages with size 8 fonts, right? It's just too much material. But when you sign that application, it says that you have already read it and you agree to it. So you're agreeing to something that you may or may not have read or that you have not read. So what company? So you don't know what's in that. Actually, hey, if you go over a certain amount of processing, we're going to deem you a fee. Or if you're in this type of industry, we can raise your rate. Or if you're going to certain kind of card, we can downgrade it, which means it'll come in at a higher rate. But one thing that I wasn't even aware of that processing companies do is they will update the terms and conditions because you sign an application and the application could say, or the terms and conditions could say, we can update the terms and conditions whenever we want.
Now, real quick, Kazra, for some reason it sounds like the audio is a little bit muffled here, and it could have been, I might have just hopped into a hot tub. It could have been, there could be a lot of technological glitches there. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now. What part did I drop off, or what part did you hear me?
You were telling us about how the terms and conditions can automatically update without you knowing, and it just got kind of blurry there. But you can start where you were.
Sure. So, being that you signed the merchant application, and right below where you maybe you personally guarantee it or something like that, you're saying that you've read the terms and conditions, and then in that document, right, on the application in many cases, it says that, hey, we can update it as needed, right? So what will happen is the company will make changes to the terms and conditions, and you've already agreed to it in advance. So one of the examples could be, hey, you know what? We're going to charge an inactivity fee. And you're like, what the hell is an inactivity fee, right? This sounds harmless. An inactivity fee could be something where we're going to charge you a percentage of the volume that you propose to do in your application. So let's say you say, you know what, I'm going to do $100,000 a month in processing. But for whatever reason, especially if you're online, you're running your campaign and maybe the ads aren't working right or the marketing or whatever it could be, right? Maybe just thinking about another website, you will receive a fee of the proposed processing. every single month.
You're
Also, in terms of-
saying that if Josh said, "Hey, I'm going to do $200,000 of fees a month," I think. I said, "Hey, I'm going to do $200,000 of fees," I think, and then we come back and we're not charging that many fees. What kind of? You're saying that credit card companies, then these processing companies, can then hit you with hidden fees?
Oh, absolutely.
How big are these fees?
So $100,000, you do 1% of that, and looking at $1,000 a month.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
I don't like the way this show's going here. Now, Josh,
Yes.
I'm sure you have a question about credit card fees. This guy's the wizard of all things credit card fee related. What questions do you have for Khosra, the man with the difficult to spell name? But each week as he joins us, we get more and more confident on how to spell the name.
Yes. We just buy a vowel.
There we go.
So, Khosra, I have very limited knowledge of credit cards. I just know that there's a ridiculous numbers of fees and rates and percentages. The one thing I was curious of is, do credit card processors have permission to adjust the interchange rates? So the percentage of what you charge for, because I've seen there's a huge spans from debit card to, on ours, what we're paying. Debit card is the cheapest card to process, and American Express Rewards card is the most expensive. So those interchange rates, do you get to control what you're charging for each transaction?
There we go. That's a good question.
Sure, that is a great question. So, yes and no. So here's how it works.
He's a credit card guy. He had to make it confusing. Oh, he said yes and no.
So here's how it goes. So first of all, depending on what company you go to, Amex right now it's the same rate as your Visa and your MasterCard. So Amex should not be any higher, even though I know traditionally it is, and a lot of banks do charge a much higher rate for Amex, but that's choice. It doesn't have to be. It could be just as low as Visa and MasterCard.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to interchange, if you're doing a certain amount of volume, right, then they can go in and give you some interchange breaks. Other than that, everybody gets, it's like literally 1,000 interchange rates out there. You can Google them online, because Chase has their own card, SunTrust, Bank of America, Delta, everybody has their own card. So there's a ton of rates. So the way companies actually adjust it, so let's say you're processing online, right? And let's just say for number's sake, the interchange rate is 2.0. The setting, there's a flag that could be set where every card that comes in automatically downgrades to a higher interchange rate based upon maybe not putting the zip code in or the correct zip code in or any little small thing. It'll automatically downgrade. You won't ever know. There's no way you can know.
Wow.
Unless you're an attorney in this area and you actually specifically ask for the interchange rates that are coming from the processor. There's no way you would know. All you would see is as an example, let's say for instance, there's a lot of companies out there and they may offer, they send you something like a postcard in the mail that says, hey, it's 1%, people or 0.50, and people are like, oh my God, I'm paying less than 1%. They don't understand, and it's on the applications as well, that 1% of that 0.5 is on top of the interchange. So you're quoted something that sounds like it's really low, but it's really on top of the interchange, and that's kind of how things are moved and shifted around.
So,
Listen here, Khosra. We're going to start asking you some really tough questions now. So somebody's out there going, listen, okay, you're blowing my mind. They're starting to feel like, man, maybe I'm paying for fees, hidden fees in my credit cards I wasn't aware of. If somebody decides to compare rates with you, how do you get paid? You know what I mean? How do you, Josh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to ask.
Let's get straight to it.
Yeah, let's get straight to it. How do you get paid, Khosra?
Sure. So as an example, for our online account, so Stripe, PayPal, Square, Shopify Payments, which is basically Stripe, they all offer pretty much the same thing. And so does Square, 2.9 or whatever and 30 cents. So we try to be a little bit more competitive. We charge 2.8 and say 25 cents for online businesses, and then we also have like volume discounts and things, or volume pricing. So the way we get paid is everything above interchange. Now listen to this really quick. So we have programs where, and I would say the genius in what Stripe and PayPal and Square have done is this. you can give someone you can give them, say, 1% or 1 basis point for interchange, right, as the base, right? And so anything over the interchange would be 1%. So if the card comes in at 1%, you're going to pay 2%. If the card comes in at 2%, you pay 3%. But it's too confusing when you get a merchant statement that has all these different ranges and rates and, every card interchange rate. It's too confusing. So what Stripe and PayPal and Square have done is they just say 2.9. The card can still come in at 1% or 1.5%. You're going to pay that much above the interchange because it's just easier for someone to get a statement that says 2.9 and 30 cents. But when you actually do the math on it, especially if you do it every day, which would be an accounting nightmare to figure out what your actual overall effective rate is, it's never going to be 2.9. It's not even going to be 2.8. It's going to be more like 3 or 4%.
Josh,
because there's all these other little pieces in there.
Do you understand what he just said?
So that's what I was going to say, Khosrow. Is there, and I am by no means second guessing you. I guess what my curiosity is there.
We're simple men.
Yeah. Is there a processor, and I'm sure you are super high level integrity. I got to meet you at the conference, and I know you're a great dude. Is there anybody who processes credit cards who just says it's 3%?
3%.
Like it's it.
Flat rate.
You pay me $20 a month. Plus, it's 3% of everything. 3%. Like if you process $100,000, you give me $3,000.
Deal,
is there just a simple across the board?
Keep it simple.
I don't have 14
We're so
million
simple.
fees.
We don't even sometimes know where we are.
Like Clay and I share 2 brain cells. Like that's it.
We sometimes we share one shirt because we don't want to get confused as whose shirt it is. Right now he's wearing a shirt. I'm shirtless. That's how simple we are. Help us.
Well, I'll be honest with you. There is no program out there
like
that exists. There's nothing out there like. There's even programs that offer like if you pay $50 a month, then you can, you only pay $300 a month if you do, $200,000 a month. When you actually, what'll happen is you will see that $300 come out on your bank statement at the beginning of the month, right? For the program, right? That's the monthly retainer fee for the program. And then in the middle of, or at the end of the month, you see the processing fees, the interchange processing fees come out.
Hey, listen.
There's a ton of companies that
listen,
do that.
just because you're smarter than us, don't take advantage of us here. Okay, so Vic, you are you own a coffee business based in California.
That's correct. Vic is intelligent.
And Vic, you it's in Sacramento, California.
Yes.
And Khosrow, one little again, I talk about my theory often on the show. I have the theory that if a business can't be open, it's going to be closed. It's a theory I'm working on. And so, Vic, you're contemplating moving to Oklahoma from California, correct?
That is correct.
When are you moving here?
Very, very soon.
Okay, so you take credit cards. You process credit cards. What questions do you have here for Special K, the king of the credit cards? What question do you have for Khosrow?
All right, Credit Card King. So I do process I have an online store on Shopify. Could I use you to integrate with that system?
Yep, we do. We integrate with Shopify.
Awesome. And then what other payment gateways or online platforms do you
paint them into a corner.
Integrate with?
Oh, yeah.
So Shopify in particular integrates perfectly well with Authorize.net, which we don't own Authorize.net. We have our own gateway, but they're a gateway that integrates with Shopify. And so we pretty much just set you up with that. We integrate with Infusionsoft and a ton of other stuff out there. We can put this pretty much a plug-in for almost everything today. But we have our own gateway as well that integrates with thousands and thousands of software programs out there.
If Vic compares rates, will he probably save money with you? Is it about the same price? Maybe is it more secure? How's it different?
So are you on the Shopify? So Shopify has 2 different programs. They have Shopify Payments Plus. Are you on that, or are you on the regular Shopify Payments program?
I'm pretty sure I'm on the regular one.
Okay. So just so you know, so for listeners out there as well, so Stripe/Shopify Payments, they have another program where you can pay $2,000 additional, and they'll drop your rate a little bit, right? We don't charge $2,000 or anything like that, but our rate is lower than Shopify Payments, and we also do volume pricing, and we can customize for you without charging you, the $2,500.
How much does it cost? How much time are we looking at to compare rates with you? Are we talking about hours? I mean, are you going to take me to a little room with one light bulb? get stuck in there with you for hours talking about, credit card rates. How long does it take? It's like a timeshare presentation. How long does it take to compare with you?
No, takes a couple minutes.
Couple minutes. Okay.
there you
all
go.
right. All right. Now again, you go to Cosra. It's K. What's the website again? There. KH. Help us again. We're trying to spell it.
Oh yeah, KH like hello, AAZRA.com.
Okay.
Or
Now,
you can go to ecomPaymentProcessing.com.
whatpayment.com?
Ecom, ECOM, ecomPaymentProcessing.com.
Okay. Our next guest here. This guy is an attorney from New York, from Manhattan. He actually moved to Oklahoma to escape the jackassery in New York City as Governor Cuomo attempts to keep his economy open while making it shut. James, you have processed some credit cards throughout your career, and you've even processed credit cards today. What question would you have for Cosra about credit card processing? And hit him with a good question. Hit him with a tough one. Make this guy pay.
Okay, we'll call that a compound question then.
Okay, do it.
And
A
Cosra,
four-part question.
We've spoken before on the show. Nice to see you again or talk to you again. Okay, so I imagine that some industries are higher risk than other ones, and some are lower risk than other ones. And also, I imagine that some industries, like take Vicks for example. The coffee is a few bucks versus car dealers where service charges or car purchases are in $5, $10, $15,000 or higher. So my question to you is there any industry that for whatever reason, whether it's high risk or high charges or some sort of moral reason, is there any industry that you stay away from or any size charges that you don't
Like, do you
authorize?
shy away from charging credit cards for gun runners, for Nicaraguan drug runners, gun runners, that kind of thing? Is there certain industries you stick away from, Cosra?
Oh, absolutely. There are, there's a ton of industries that we do stay away from. But let me also say this, though, because that's a good question. There are certain industries that do pay a much higher rate. For instance, Nutra, they pay double, sometimes even triple the rate that someone else would have. But here's the thing, the Nutra guys don't care because the way they run their businesses, not all, but most of them, they run it like a shim-sham, like a flim-flam kind of business. So the only thing because they'll take your credit card, right, and they'll automatically sign you up into a continuity program. Once you find out after like maybe month 2 or 3, then they'll take, they'll get a ton of chargebacks. That account will get shut down. Then they switch it over, and they'll put you on another continuity program with one of their other websites. So they don't care about
What is Nutra?
What is Nutra? What is Nutra?
Nutra could be something like, they're selling, take this pill and you can have sex for, 5 hours straight or something like that.
What does Nutra stand for? Nutra, is that from the root word newt?
Right. I'm not sure.
It's from peanut.
I am not sure. But,
Okay.
I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I know. I have Josh. We have time for one final question.
So, Cosra, do you charge attorneys a higher rate since they can actually read the terms and conditions?
You know what? We don't, but I will say this. I have yet, you may be the first, I have yet to meet an attorney who understands how to read those rates as well. I must say.
We can't even figure out what shirt to put on here, so forget about that.
All right. So, folks, if you're out there today and you process credit cards, I encourage you to go to Cosra.com. That's C-H-A.
K-H.
What?
K-H.
K-H.
A-A.
Yeah.
See, there it is again. The 14th time's the charm. Give it to us one more time.
Do you want the shirt?
Cosra, give us your web address one more time. I got all excited there.
Sure. Let me say this one really quick, though. If you do have an issue with the processor, they're holding your funds, or they're doing anything out of the ordinary, if you are lucky enough to hire the right attorney, in most cases, they don't want that kind of heat. And if there's something wrong, they will stop doing it, and they give you your money back. So it's a good thing you got Josh on here. So the website is K like kitchen, H like hello, AAZRA.com, or they can go to ecomPaymentProcessing.com.
It's all happening so fast. Let me try again. It's K H A A Z R A.
Yes.
.com.
That's a mega point. That's a mega point.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Now, folks, I got that one time in a row. Let me try one more time. It's KHAAZRA.com. Fill out the form there. Schedule a little one-on-one consultation. He promises it won't take very long. You can compare rates, see how much money you can save. Cosra, you're a great American. I hope you're enjoying. Are you in Florida today, sir?
I am.
All right. Now, remember, when you're out there on the mean streets, I want to encourage you, make sure to keep yourself safe from corona because you know that does have a 0.0000024% death rate. So be careful, okay?
All right, will do, buddy.
All right. Take care, brother. I really appreciate you. Have a great day.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was our show with Cosmo. Let's end this thing with a boom. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom.